Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world, in the country, and whether you're watching this on a replay. We have everybody joining the chat again today. Nigel, who's trying to convince me it's warm, and I would have said he's a complete liar. Warm in England, and then Francis came along and said it's warm there as well. So clearly something has gone horribly wrong because it's raining here, or it was in Dallas. So it's a bit weird. I'm moving soon as well. I'm moving to Frisco, which is just a few miles away from where I am at the moment, but it's still Dallas. Dallas is huge. It's like, for those that know it, Dallas is like the size of Wales or something like that. Not Wales like, oh, Wales, the country. It's a pretty big place. Oh, look, everybody's coming in. There's Adel from Agadir, and Paul is here. Haito is back from Uruguay. Hello, Haito. And Bulgaria has already said hello. I put them up. Louisiana, where was it? There you go. Bob's music channel as well. I love that. Hello to Germany. And Gary's in British Columbia. Hello there. And Sherman, Texas. Howdy, y'all. I hope you're doing well. And you're not stuck at Bucky's or somewhere like that. Texans will understand why. And moving again, yes. Well, actually, I live in rented accommodation. That's very common over here. And I'm moving to a more central city location. At the moment, I'm a little bit away from it. For those of you that know Dallas, it's on the 380. And trust me, you don't want to go on the 380 if you can help it. It's horrible. Stephen says, hello from Ireland. Hello to you. And Keith from Ann Arbor in Michigan. So everybody's joining in. So a couple of things to clear up. Unfortunately, I cannot do the webinar today that I was going to do. And there are lots of reasons why. I think I've got an overlay to help explain that. Let me just see if I put it up, because I think I did. Is this the one? No, it's not. Let me just see if I can load this overlay, because I want you to see what happened to me earlier on and why I have a little bit of a problem. There we go. I'm going to save that there and then do this. And the magic of my broadcasting software will allow me to go bing like this. Yes, I was doing some recordings of something, and I unwisely upgraded my Camtasia to 2025. And I have to say, this is not typical of Camtasia. I think it was a combination of things went on my machine, and it just went and died. And the demo I had was a problem anyway, so I couldn't get it working. And so I'm going to show a replay today, but I'm going to talk about some other things as well. The replay is going to be something that is on the same topic, so you're not losing out as such. Whoa, lots and lots of people. Marcin from Poland, Moskovich, not related to the guy who owned Facebook, I'm assuming, or founded Facebook. Was it Dustin Moskovich? I think so. Yeah, The Social Network is a great movie. I'm sure most of it's not true, but anyway, it's a very good movie. Oh, look, Rio, Brazil, Samuel, Mexico, Rich Charles, as ever, in Richmond. Hello, Charles. Good to see you back. Lars, please inform everybody that the stream will not start automatically if you arrive here too early and wait. Yes, what I didn't know that. That's a YouTube thing, because I can see from your logo you're on YouTube. I don't control how YouTube works. So if you do arrive early, and a lot of people do, then you may not see what's going on. Guadalajara. Woo, Deb's Delphi in Mexican Spanish. Fantastic. Well done there, you. Thanks for doing that. And I have the latest Camtasia version. Yes, I do. And luckily I can claim it as a business expense because it's pretty pricey. But let me just give a little plug out for them for a moment, because I don't want to give people the impression that Camtasia is shoddy. It is a fantastic product. We do all of our video recording. Any of the videos I record, I use Camtasia for, and I swear by Snagit. They're not sponsoring me for this. I don't get any free offers or anything like this. It is a personal endorsement by me, not by Embarcadero, although I know plenty of others use it as well. But I personally use Camtasia and Snagit, and I would be lost without it. I think I did a little thumbs up for them on their website a while ago and said how great it is. People said for screen capture you use OBS. Yes, I've used OBS in the past. I find Camtasia to be much better, but I like OBS as well because it's open source as well. It's really good. And I've used Camtasia for years. Great software. Yes, I think so too. Stephen says I second that. OBS is very good. Yes, exactly. And Bob says he loves Snagit as well. Yeah, it's great. I mean, if you're doing documentation, which I do a lot of for obvious reasons because of my job, the little things that you can do in Snagit. Maybe I should do a video one day about Snagit. But it's extremely useful. And if you know how to drive Camtasia, it's the same as the broadcasting software you use, Restream. Some bits of software that just work and you just admire them. They're great, you know, and I really I really like it. Please activate subtitles. We do normally have them switched on automatically, so I will speak slowly. I apologize if the subtitles are not coming up. I have no control over the YouTube platform. We do turn them on and say automatic subtitles. There's a thing they call live replay, I think, on YouTube. Turn that on and it should do voice to text. So I apologize. I know this is in English and that's what it is. We use Camtasia too. Yes. Now, whilst we're talking about these things, I'd also like to talk about some very cool things that have come up. One of them is a new podcast. Now, it is in Portuguese. So if you don't speak Portuguese, it's going to be a problem for you. I'm just going to get rid of the QR code that's up there so that you can see it. And it is this one. It's called Delphi Cast. And it's this episode is episode 2. They did a pilot episode. I think it was Kivian that was on that. I heard her talking on it. I didn't understand what anybody was saying because they're speaking Portuguese. But Delphi Cast, it's on Spotify. So if you're a Spotify fan, go to it. I've created you a little QR code for those that go to it. Actually, no, I'm going to have to give you the link instead. Hold on just 1 second. Here it is. So if you go to here, tinyurl.com/DelphiCast, that will take you to a Spotify link for this program. It's nothing to do with me personally. They may get me on at some point. These kind of things happen to me, but it's certainly this episode are 4 MVPs from Brazil who I know personally. I know all of them. Kirian, very active. Adriana Santo, very active as well. Daniel Fernandez, also known as Dinos Dev and part of Delphi Nevea, Delphi in the Blood, and Cesar Cardoso, who is also a really great guy. Cesar is one of these people who manages to look super smart and tidy all the time. I swear that person could walk through a forest fire and come out looking tidy, and he's an incredibly well turned out guy. I really admire him. But anyway, Daniel Fernandez, the Dinos Dev on the right there, he's definitely a super fan of Delphi because he's actually got a tattoo of the Delphi helmet on his arm. Even I don't have that. I'm the developers advocate. So maybe I should have, go at getting a tattoo myself. I've got a few tattoos, but yeah, Daniel is if you ever see him, he's the guy with the Delphi helmet tattoo on his arm. Anyway, it is in Portuguese, so if you don't speak Portuguese, you're going to be lost. But if you're in Portugal or Brazil, this is definitely worth listening to. It's a great effort by them. I'm really very grateful to them for doing that. So that's that. Now, today, as I said, I unfortunately could not get the intended webinar working. It's entirely my fault. Couple of things are going on. I'm making some product videos at the moment, would you believe? Because it's part of my job. I'm also moving house and got a lot of other things going on in my life, and also I'm preparing for going to tour around to Denmark and a few other places. And Code for Delphi says DelphiCast is awesome. Thanks for showing it in. Everyone is welcome to watch. Oh, watch? Oh, I thought it was an audio. Oh, cool. Okay, well done. Well, good. Code for Delphi. There you go. It's one of these people involved in that. Really great. Thank you for doing that. I really appreciate it. So, as I said, I've got a lot going on. I'm very, very, very busy at the moment. We launched 12.3, and then we've had a lot of things. Look, my dog's got hairs all over me. Had a lot of things going on in connection with that, and we've got some AI stuff coming up that I'm going to be doing some webinars on AI, and I've had the project that the webinar that I did on Friday about Rad Studio, which I did a blog post for as well, who uses Delphi. I've had a load of people email me and say, hey, you didn't mention my project. Where was it? We've got one guy was called Martin Forsberg from Sweden, and his product is called PlanMinder. And it's a very interesting, nice, pretty little project there. I will feature that sooner or later. And I probably had 5 or 6 other people, but one person who emailed me also pointed out, and this amazed me, that when I always say to you, hey, you have probably had a Delphi program that you have interacted with today or in the last week or month, because they're in airports and it's everywhere. Well, how about this one then? Some guy whose name, unfortunately, I haven't made a note of yet, emailed me and said, hey, I'm not sure how much I can talk about, but the ISS astronauts, the people who are 500 miles or whatever it is up in the sky in the International Space Station, have a laptop on there that is running a Delphi program that tests the astronauts' eyesight. Because when you're in space, some horrible things can happen to your eyes because, as you know, your eyes have a thing called aqueous humor in it, and it's a liquid, and you're weightless all the time, and it can cause you problems. And so there is an app on the ISS that's written in Delphi, rotating above our heads at 17,000 miles an hour or however fast it goes. So anybody that says, oh, I don't think a Delphi program has ever been anywhere near me. Well, actually, it is above you, probably every so often, 11 times a month or how often it rotates above each part of the Earth. But very, very interesting to hear that. And thank you for letting me know. And lots of other projects. We're going to do some more blog posts that list some of these great projects that are out there. It's absolutely everywhere. There's all sorts of, really bugs me when people say, oh, Delphi's not really used that often anymore. You are such an idiot when you say that. I'm sorry, but you are, because you should look around, and if you look hard enough, you'll find a lot of Delphi apps are there, and lots of Delphi developers are doing things. Anyway, so what are we going to talk about? Well, today I'm going to do a replay of a webinar with Richard Hatherall, who has the Amazon AWS components. And the reason I picked that one is because it basically does what I was intending to do with the security camera. So, by the way, don't forget the Delphi Summit. If you can make it to Europe, come along. Come and say hi. They're telling me the registrations are really taking off and they're doing very well. It's looking like it is going to be as big as I was hoping it was going to be. And so there's some things we're organizing, some raffle prizes for some licenses, I understand. I think I can safely say that now. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, but that's the intention. And lots of speakers will be there. Antonio Zapata is very, very talented speaker from Embarcadero. I'll be there. Marco Cantu, boss man of Delphi worldwide and everywhere outside of the world, in the space station, you name it. Marco will be there as well. So it's going to be like a who's who of Delphi. So if you can get to that summit, come along, and you might even have the chance to win some free licenses as well. But the other thing that I wanted to talk about as well is if you are in the United States, I believe it is, there is a training course. Oh, sorry, my apologies. It's actually in Brazil. Some AI training. So if you are interested in learning more about using AI in your own product or using the AI built into Rad Studio, then this training is going to help you. Hopefully you can understand what I'm saying because it is only in Portuguese, this training in Brazil. So lots going on and tons of other things happening. It's starting to warm up. April's a busy time. There's a lot of things happening. At the end of April and into May, I'll be in Denmark for the Denmark Delphi User Conference. And and there you go. Helios is telling me that the ISS was at 10 degrees 27 minutes 58 seconds north, etc. And the reason that he can tell you that is because of my webinar where I tracked the ISS. Yes, there you go. So it's funny how many people run some of my example apps. It's quite weird. So look, what I want to do then is I want to, without further ado, play the replay of the webinar that I did with Richard Hatherall. I've edited it down a bit, so it will start after the normal chit chat from me, saying a hi to everybody, which is what I'm doing now. And I'm not sure what that means, but amen. I think that means hello. And so we'll just get right into it. But it's Richard Hatherall from Apercept, and it is the webinar with him. And I will be here talking in the chat. Excuse me, and I will be live after it finishes. About an hour long, but great talk by him. Also, for those that aren't sure where to get your stuff, if they go into Get It Package Manager, and I only just discovered these overlays, you can have cutouts on them. So I apologise for blanking your head out there, but if they go into the Get It Packet Manager, very good. I don't think I can even do that. Yeah, this is great. So if they go into the Get It Package Manager, that's Tools, Get It Package Manager, and they just type in AWS, it will pull down the AWS SDK. That is the Embarcadero version, which is it's very capable. It does all the things you can do, but there is actually a pro version as well. You can only get the pro version from Richard's website directly. It's very reasonable price, I believe. He said selling it for you there, but it does add some additional things on top. What we're going to be showing today, I believe, is a combination of the Embarcadero version and some extra bits for the Pro. Is that right?
Well, I actually have the Pro version installed.
Yeah.
For this, you won't notice. Particularly.
Now, I should say the Get It version at the moment, if they download it, is actually a slightly outdated version because you did ship one yesterday, which is 1.2, I think. Is that right?
1.2, yeah.
So if they see it saying 1.1, it's a little bit out of date. I did try and elbow Serge along to get it up quicker, but he didn't manage it. So.
1.2. It adds. It's a good release. It's got new support for identity and access management service, so you can straight from your apps you can tinker with, query the data out of your IAM, which is what governs access control within AWS. If you want to create things on the fly, if you need to create a role to do a specific thing, you can do that all from the updated SDK. There are some, obviously each release comes with bug fixes and tweaks and things. There's a handful of bug fixes which are always appreciated, I'm sure, especially by the people that report them. You know, I
Yeah.
can't believe, you know, I wrote a bug apparently, so.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I'm sure someone else did that and they sneaked it into your code when you weren't looking. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Because as we know, as what was it, as Francis says, one of the best coders in the expanding Delphi world.
Well, because I wrote a bug, that's why he's not put the best.
One of the best. Yeah. Yeah, I'm very careful to make it clear to people that I'm not the best in the world. And that way I can completely screw up and everyone goes, well, he did tell us he's not very good. So, you know, I'm hedging my bets. Okay,
Yeah.
well, I'm going to hand over to you if that's okay. I think you're going to go through some demos. We can briefly just talk about what it is as well. Actually, I think we can do that with the camera set up like it is. So if you just want to briefly talk about what your libraries do so that people can visualize, you know, hey, why would I have this? What would I use it for? That's probably the best way, isn't it? Yeah.
So in terms of what my SDKs do, is it provides a very direct wrapper of the Amazon Web Services APIs. So you get direct access to all of the features that the Amazon SDKs provide in a Delphi style. So that's we provide you know, a sort of syntactic sugar where possible to make your Delphi code as you write it look a little bit nicer. We provide utilities to simplify the way things are handled. For example, with Amazon S3, it's a recommended pattern and almost required at times when you're dealing with very large data to break things up into multiple parts to do multi-part uploads. We have a utility that takes care of all of that for you, takes care of all of the complexity of that.
I think it's one important thing to mention as well is that the reason we Embarcadero are interested in it is because it's actually really strains from sort of enterprise level development. Not completely. I mean, you know, if you're a regular just one-man band or one-woman band, of course you can use it. And actually, with our Jokey Not a Hot Dog app and things like that, we show that you can use it for a mobile app. But it does have some capabilities there that appeal to the enterprise market. And the other thing about it is, and you always cringe when I say this, but it's a very, very well engineered library. The differentiator with your library, and obviously we've had some involvement in you know, helping direct the development of it, but what differentiates your library is the quality of what it does. So, for example, if something fails or needs to retry, then your libraries handle that very smoothly. Whereas I've seen some other alternatives that don't quite do that. I mean, you know, you can a lot of these other SDKs are kind of good in that they brush some of the topics. You know, they meet some of the things that you'd want to do. But yours is very much it's the you know, the work person's toolkit to say really of how to do it properly. And you know, Marco Cantu and myself are involved in sort of talking to you about this, and we're both very you know, we complement the engineering side of things that goes into this and into what we put into it. You know,
I have a philosophy, rightly or wrongly, about when I develop a service. When I release it, it's 100% complete at that point. Now, Amazon, of course, are going to change things, and it takes time for me sometimes to catch up because, you know, can't keep up with, you know, the juggernaut of Amazon. You know,
well, there's thousands of them, and one of you. So
so I do try my best to keep things up to date, but yeah, so I try to look at how things, realistic use cases, make sure so you'll get full access to all of the API features, but I try to make syntactic improvements or utilities that help with like the most common use cases.
Right.
So that should hopefully help you, write nicer, cleaner code yourself in your own applications. I can't say, obviously there are, various alternates out there in various states of development. But I like to try and make sure that, like, when I release IAM, like I did in the last couple of days, that you've got access to all of it.
Yeah. And as I said, I mean, we are slightly biased in that we actually, have a contract with you to deliver the Embarcadero version. So, we obviously think it's good, but we genuinely think it's good. It's not,
Yeah, I mean, I would also
we put some financial and physical effort into this, so we should back it. No, it's not the case. We pick what we think is the quality first, and then the kind of endorsement follows behind it.
Yeah.
So.
I would hazard one piece of caution. Of, you say it's very good enterprise, and then you made a little, maybe it's also not enterprise. But I would say, I mean, I've used Amazon Web Services now for like I don't know, like 15 years or more, across various companies of different sizes for different purposes. It can be, I mean, obviously it can be extremely expensive, and it can be extremely, you hear the horror stories about like enterprise, and it sounds a very enterprisey thing, but it also, because it's pay as you go, and it's, you pay exactly for what you're using. As a small developer or small IT shop, you can actually deliver at scales that is typically only achievable by large budget enterprise platforms. Because you get access to the same things that enterprises that are delivering on that platform. You're just paying less because you don't use as much of it.
It's a great leveler. Put it behind you, and you're just a one-man show or whatever. And
exactly.
I mean, I do like Amazon services. I have to say, I've used them professionally myself. Even before I worked at Embarcadero, we had quite a lot of how can I put it without giving out any trade secrets? There were some systems that were based on Amazon that customers didn't know were based on Amazon, and we did things like backups via the Amazon as well, automated and all the rest of it. Lots of routing and content delivery, CDN type stuff, and that was all Amazon based as well. So yeah, you can get yourself in trouble if you unwisely do some stupid things with it. But actually, I never found any particularly bad bills, as long as you think it out first and don't go crazy. Hey, I'll just host 500 gigabytes of stuff on an inappropriate service.
I mean,
it's going to happen, isn't it?
I mean, I having worked in teams using this at big companies, I can assure you those. I don't want to give away any details of those historical things, but I have witnessed some of those scary things, those big bills. But I would say it's as simple as read the pricing on Amazon Web Services website. It's all clearly documented. Sometimes you can think, because there's so many tiny little bits, it can be difficult to work out, when it's going to cost.
I'll tell you an anecdote about this. Okay, this morning I've been dealing with GitHub. Okay, and the reason is that obviously Embarcadero have a GitHub account, and we happen to have something that was going on the GitHub account. We start getting emails telling us that we're meeting some kind of quota. And we're like, why is that? So all of us, the PMs and myself, because I manage some of the systems behind the scenes, and I look at it thinking, what's happening? Do you know, it took me 2 hours to find out what it was that was making this warning appear. and that's GitHub. So that's Microsoft. They're all the same. They make it actually quite difficult to work out. You know, they tell you you're going to cost yourselves money, but they don't really make it obvious how. And Amazon has got this budget tool and things like that as well. So, you know, I don't think this is an Amazon problem. I think this is a cloud in general.
It is, yeah. Cloud
Azure is
computing.
Bad,
yeah. And I think that's the thing is there are tools out there to help with it, and it really are. You know, it is not as, you know, it's terrifying the first time, I guess, when you've never done it before, when you've never gone cloud. But
you put your credit card number in and you think,
yeah, you know, but you know,
they're spending budgets and things like that as well. And you can
so you know, when you look at what we're going to do right now, we're going to jump in and see AI image analysis. And the cost of that, if you consider what it would cost to build your own, you know, neural nets and things to do this, you would cost, you know, you'd cost a fortune to do it. Whereas you can do it. You can do like advanced image analysis for I think, what was it, 0.2 cents.
It was like there are a couple of zeros after the decimal point, and that was the thing. It's funny because you know,
I have the pricing here.
Yeah, when I was testing things out, I was sending a lot of stuff happening, and you know, backwards and forwards, and I think it was like 5 cents or something like that I spent, and I sent a lot later.
Yeah. So looking here, the image analysis is for the first million images, it is 0.001 of a dollar.
First million images.
For the first million requests.
I have to say, MD Maxi Donkey says, "Oh, hi everyone! Damn, I missed the beginning." But as Marcin quite rightly pointed out, it is still the beginning.
Yeah,
because they should know better than that. I mean, I don't want these webinars to be a 8 straight out lecture. I want it to be a kind of social interaction. And Rick says we gave away free beer at the beginning. Yes, we did. Yeah, it was a coupon, but it was one of coupons, so it's gone now. Anyway, so look, I think we've talked enough.
Do you want to share my screen?
Yeah, and then I'll work out how on earth I get that to appear, because this is always the bit that we don't do very often on the restream. And then plus you insist on using very expensive Macs as well. There you go. It says show on stream, so I can show it. There you go. I'm going to turn myself off, so to speak, and then leave you on. Do you want if you want your camera turned off, I can turn your camera off, but you'll need to have your mic on. So
no problems.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to turn me off for now. So if I just do that, and then...
we, by running this demo, and you can see. This is the recognition demo. This is available in our samples repository, which I'm sure Ian can throw up a link to. Which is available on GitHub. But if I
don't need me to actually look that link up, but I'll find it. Don't worry.
It's github.com/APSEP/AWS-SDK-Delphi-samples, I think. So let's start off with the joke that we had before, which is not a hot dog. So we used this a few webinars back to recreate the Not a Hot Dog app from the Silicon Valley TV series. So if I hit detect labels here, Amazon Recognition will look at this image that we provided to it, and it will give us back a set of labels. And by labels, it is just some arbitrary text that somehow describes, in this case, it's saying food, and the category for that is food and beverage. And it's also detected a hot dog, and that's also food and beverage, and some ketchup, which is food and beverage. But you'll notice that this one has a bounding box there. And that's because some things have instances within the image. So like this bit saying food is like a general theme for the image. And I think this ketchup appears to be as well. It's like detected some ketchup in the image, but I guess ketchup could be in lots of places. So they don't like give you a bounding box for that. But the hot dog itself, that is a thing that it can identify, and it gives you coordinates in your image for where that is. So if let's open up another, and we can see here, and we can do detect labels here, and you get, as you can see, you get the same thing back here. We've got an apple, and it gives us a bounding box for that instance of an apple. It then gives us lots of other sort of themes for this image: food, fruit, plant, produce, cup. And notice, oh yeah, just in the corner there, it's actually picked out a mug, and I think that was from your desk, wasn't it, Ian? So didn't crop your test images up that well. So
I did that deliberately. I'm sure that's what I did.
Deliberate, yeah. But you can see again, we can detect images here. This is a really disgusting looking hot dog that you
7-Eleven finest. How dare you?
and a really overcooked, dry.
Oh, that was bad, and they gave me at half price because it was so bad. But we needed to sample food. So.
But it does detect us pizza, so
it doesn't say horrible pizza, and that's what's missing.
Yeah. So we also tested it out before on your dogs, and because this one here definitely has an element of cat about it. So, and that is confirmed by recognition. So
can confirm he's very cat-like. Yeah.
But yeah, so you can see there's a lot more information here. It knows there's animals, canine, dog, and it's saying this one is a dog. Mammal, pet, puppy, person. I'm not sure there is any person here, but you have to.
I wonder if it thought the chair was a person or something.
Yeah. So if we unfortunately we can't for things that are like a theme or some kind of like idea that they've added, it doesn't give you a confidence, or I don't have an instance. I've not rendered a confidence, but here, as you can see, we can enable confidence. And if I make this a bit bigger, you'll see that it's 86.21% sure that this is a cat.
Nemo is a cat.
Yeah. So there's some bit of wiggle room there. It might be something else. But
But I have to say, in defense of the algorithm, he's a very unusual looking dog.
Yeah,
because he's a cross between a border terrier and a Shih Tzu. So he actually has a long face and big whiskers. He's got like a moustache.
And the thing is, it's hard from this angle. I'm guessing this is a very cat-like thing to do as well. Like
yeah, crabbing they call it in the dog world. But yeah, exactly. He's I mean, I don't think that's actually a bad guess by Amazon. If you were looking at that from a distance, you would say, well, maybe it is a cat.
But if this demo image here, so this is a photo I took. I think last time I was down in Jersey, where I'm from, and my wife and son there, with this very moody sky. If we hit detect labels, we'll see
picture, by the way,
really a lot of information that comes back about this. Path, walkway, water, waterfront, flagstone, handrail, sidewalk, person. Now, person, you'll see it's actually highlighted because it knows there are multiple instances. It's highlighted. here, and you
absolutely outstanding that it can do this. Really.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about what is happening here in Delphi. You are sending this picture off. It's going up to Amazon. Amazon are processing that using their big, computerized power. And as we said before, the price is like 1 million images for a couple of cents, if that.
Well,
And
per image. So,
Oh yeah, okay. Well, anyway, it's
the first million image analysis will cost you, but then it gets cheaper after that. So if you're a really big user, the price bracket bumps down. So
right, okay, so not as cheap as I thought, but even so,
no.
I mean, if you were using this to tag a specific group of pictures, the 100 pictures or something like that, you're still looking at a couple of dollars American to tag 100 pictures. But it's what it's doing. It's not just and your SDK is amazing how it's done this. It's a really great demo. It's my favorite demo, by the way, of yours. But it's not just saying, oh, there's a person in this picture. It's saying, and here's the bounding box, the rectangle within which this person appears in the image. Oh, and I'm 90% sure this is a person.
99.06 on this one, 99.27 on
absolutely amazing.
Very high confidence scores, and obviously you can use that to make your own decisions about things. So you could say, oh, I only want to do this action if I am really confident that this thing is true. So you're going to say, okay, only if it's 99% or 98% or more, or something. Whereas some things you might want to like hint at things within your applications, but not say, oh, this is definite, or not enable features unless you're more confident. So there's lots you can do with this. It's maybe we should actually take a quick look at the code behind this. Simple application with a list down the left here. This is a T image here. A T image here, and obviously I've got the toolbar up here with a couple of options. And when we hit detect labels, if I go through the action here, we've got the detect labels action. Let's go to that, and all we do to start with is we just if when we launch a request, we're just going to say disable this button, so you can't click it again like super fast or anything, because there's no point in reprocessing the same image again and again and again. It'll re-enable that when we reopen a new image, and then we create a recognition client. So the first thing, I'll take you up to the.
Can you just zoom your text up a little bit?
Yes, I will do that. Sorry, yeah. Let's go up quite a bit. There we go. So here you'll see in our users clause we use aws.recognition. So the pattern is simple. The users is whatever the service name is, aws dot whatever the service name is. So if this was simple queue service, otherwise known as SQS, it would be aws.sqs, and then you've got everything you need to use that service. So if we go back down here to this, the next thing you need to know is you need a client, and again it has a pattern. So you should, once you know the pattern, you almost don't need to look at the documentation, because it's always the same. So it's an interface, and you use the service name. So the same thing that you referenced in the users clause, aws.recognition. It's the recognition part, and then it's client, and then we use a T recognition client. We create that client, and then we can call actions on that, and we can say, okay, so detect labels. Now, detect labels accepts. You can give it an image from two different sources. You can either upload it, which needs to be an encoded image as a part of the payload, or you can say where the image is on S3. So to make that easier to work out what to do, this is one of the things you'd have to look up in our documentation, because this is expecting an image and an eye recognition image source, and we have a convenient way to create that, which is from file, and we specify the file name where we want to load that from, and that will automatically then load and encode that image as a part of the payload.
I have to say, in my demo when I did the Not a Hot Dog app, I only had to change that to actually load it from a stream, because we were taking a photo from the camera, which I then saved to a stream, and then I loaded
exactly.
it from a stream. Yeah.
So you can say from stream, or you can say from S3 object, and then you just pass the arguments that it asks for. So for an S3 object, you have to pass it as a minimum the bucket name and the key of the object, and you can optionally specify a version of the object on S3. But in this case, we're using from file just because it's there on disk that we've selected. So we call this, if this has an error of some kind, I've not guarded it here, it's just going to throw up the exception, and the exceptions are scoped. So if you do want to do some handling of this, you can do except e. You can generally say AWS exception and do something there. That's going to catch all. We need to add something else to the uses clause to that, but that's going to catch all AWS exceptions, so you can handle them. But in this case, we're not. We could just say recognition exception, and that's going to catch all of the different exceptions that recognition is likely to throw. I should type an on there, otherwise that's not correct. But yeah, so that's how you would guard if you need to. In this simple demo, I simply don't do that because I just let the program throw up the exception so you can see what it is, and the description of the error typically gets populated in the exception that's raised, so you can work out what you've done wrong. But sometimes, so on the response, so notice here we have a response, which is here's another pattern to use. Eye recognition detect label response, because we're using the detect labels function. That is the response we're getting back, an eye recognition detect labels response, and all responses, regardless of the action, have a is successful, and that's just an easy way. It's almost just a reaction now. I just say if L response is successful before I actually do anything with the data, because there are times when even if it's not thrown an exception, there are some services that regard things as like a partial success, for example. So you have to inspect the data of the response to understand that. But that's a service specific thing. I just have a habit of just making sure I specify is it successful before I do anything with it. So that's a good habit to get into. For your applications. So all I'm doing here then is I'm assigning detect labels, and I'm creating a new list because the labels that come back in the response are owned by the response. When the response is freed, and because there's an interface here, this is going to be freed at the end of its scope. So I create a new list to take that data, so we can store it beyond here, and we're using the labels as a source for that. So it's going to effectively create a new list with the same contents, and because we then assign it to detect labels, and we if you notice here, we've got our detect labels, which has a setter attached to it. We then just see what happens here. We just make sure that if we have a detected labels list already, we just free it because we're going to use the new one. And then we do a detected list, which is the list view on the left. And we're just going to begin update because we're going to start updating the user interface. And then we iterate through the items that were returned, and we are going to add them into that list. And when someone selects something from that list, we have a function that gets called from the label where is it? The detected list change. So when that happens, we select the label based on the index, and then this is where the magic of the bounding box happens. So basically, we check if the label is assigned, so we've not been passed a nil, and the label instances are assigned. So that means that the label that's been provided actually has detected instances. I'm guarding this, so I'm saying if these things aren't true, we just get out and we don't need to do anything further. But otherwise, we are loading a bitmap, which is the bitmap, and then we're going to draw on top of it, and we're going to so it's reloading the image that we selected, and then we are drawing over the top of it the bounding boxes for the instances, and then we're just assigning that back to the image. The most complicated bit of this, and I have had requests, and I'm considering options for how to deal with this. This is because it's the data that's come back from Amazon. We have to do some calculations because they're relative coordinates, and we're working not in a relative world but in an absolute world. So we need to calculate the actual coordinates within our image based on the current scaling of that image. So that's why this looks a little bit complicated here. I have some ideas for some nice components to wrap some of this up to make it super easy for people. But at the minute,
that's actually a good point to bring up as well, which is that one of the things that people might not catch about this is that most of this is an API or an SDK.
Yeah,
and not a set of components. So in order to use this, they don't drop components. I mean, I'm sure you can talk about some of the components in a moment, but the tendency is to actually just include the file, as you said. So AWS, what was it called? I forget what the initial bit before the dot was, but then whatever the name of the service is. So it's
yeah. So there is a reason for that, which is it is mimicking Amazon's own SDKs. So if you go and do talk to Amazon from, say, a C# application, a .NET application, you'll do effectively exactly the same pattern as what's happening here.
And it's just in case they were going, oh, well, I'm going to drop a component on my form and off I go. You don't need to. And actually, the samples, which I keep putting up here in the top left-hand corner there, the samples show you the code. And when I did the Not Hot Dog thing, which was not a trivial app, 20 years ago, that would have been probably impossible. And certainly at the time of the Silicon Valley series that we were riffing off of, they probably couldn't have done it for real. We did it for real. we wrote an app for real, and most of the time was spent with me emulating their user interface. It was not the actual recognition. I just used this your example code, swapped out the file loading from a file, the image loading from a file, to just capturing it from the camera stream. That was it. I didn't need to do. I just took your sample, tweaked it a bit, and off I went. Very, very easy. And I do keep laboring to people, I don't want to think, oh, he's the guy in the Embarcadero shirt, so he must be good, right? He must be like really good at Delphi. I never say that. I'm okay. I obviously know what I'm doing, But people like Richard, for example, as we've already established, are very, very good developers. But I am just a regular person, like most of the people watching you. I make mistakes, and have to Google things all the time and read them. I want people to understand that's the point about Delphi, is you don't need to be a rocket scientist. And with this SDK, it adds those rocket scientist superpowers, to your library, to your set of skills. Suddenly you can do image recognition and do very, very good image recognition with not a lot of code. It's great.
So I will say on the components, while we've touched on that, is at the minute we have two components. One of them's for FMX and one of them's for VCL. They do the same thing. And it's for Cognito, for using Amazon's hosted user interface for signing in to an identity provider to get credentials for use on Amazon. And I've got demos of that. I've demoed that before on these webinars. I'm sure at some point we will demo those again in some context. Those components were effectively a minimum to get Cognito as a minimum viable product for use within a Delphi application. But there are plans, and they are going to be sooner rather than later, to build to provide a whole host of more components. So I am not ignoring the RAD approach. So there will be more of that coming. In actual fact, the release of the IAM service today was actually one of the key milestones in getting towards that, because one of the first things you need to do with Amazon Web Services is take care of options and access control and credentials, basically, and the IDE integrations that I'm working on at the moment needed that support to be able to then build out the components how I want them to be. So
it's kind of a chicken and the egg thing. You need some parts of it to exist before the other part can exist, which then enables another part that you need to make something. Yeah, I mean, this goes back to what I said before, which is the sort of quality of the engineering you put into it. I'm really impressed. I mean,
the thing is that it is worth saying it is a constantly evolving, moving target. I make regular releases with features and obviously fixes whenever people report any issues. This is not an SDK that's sort of like half done on the market. This is something I'm planning to keep up to date. Obviously, there is a huge amount of effort and cost involved in doing that, and fingers crossed. I keep getting supported by Embarcadero and maybe some sales to help that along.
I think there's certainly the will is there from our part as well. Yeah. I mean, we just support you. You do all the hard work. I always say this in the webinars. I make myself look good by doing demos. I can do the hot dog app, no talent whatsoever. I just use your demos and just knock together a user interface, and off it went. So you've got some more demos you want to show. So then I'm going to put us back to the content side.
Yeah. So one thing I'll point out, and this is, I'm going to confess to actually making a bit of a mess today, because the next images I was going to show was. So here's a photo of something we can all typically recognize as some Lego bricks. So if I hit detect labels on this, you'll see that it's detected a toy, but it can't tell you what it is. It's a toy. And it thinks, oh, that's a wheel, it thinks maybe. And let's see what the confidences are. So let's scale that up. 75% of that's a wheel, 70% that's a wheel, which it could be. I mean, this could be like a lorry with those little toy wheels sticking out the side. So it's reasonable to assume that. But you can see it's not a great deal of information here, except for it knows these are toys, and that's 96% a toy, and that one's 56% a toy. But there, if you need more than that, if you need to know more about what these things are, or say you have custom components built by your company, and you've got a business process that you need to be able to identify things, and Amazon's model, its default model, is not going to know about your bespoke components that your company builds, your widgets or whatever it is you build. So there is a thing called detect custom labels, and I was hoping to show that today. But the thing is, what you have to do with detect custom labels, you have to provide it a training data set, and then you have to get it to train on that training data set. Now, it's actually pretty easy to do. They provide you on the Amazon Web Services console. It's pretty drag and drop. You go and say create a new project for custom labels. You drag and drop some training data to it, or you give it an S3 bucket with training images, and it will then learn what they are, and you label them. You say this thing is a that, and that thing is a this, and it starts to recognize you when you do a detect custom labels and specify what project to run. It will then start. So we could label this as as brick 1x2, brick 1x4, brick 1x1. But
the reason I put the camera on is to see your face.
But unfortunately,
because people watching this, I'll give you a little behind the scenes tip. Just before we go, Richard is very meticulous. Okay, he's one of these guys who is always prepared, and whenever I say to him, "Hey, you are doing this webinar," I say, "Of course, I'm ready." And then he messaged me just before and went, "I screwed up the labels, custom labels," and I laughed. And what did I say? You have to punch yourself in the face. I want to see visible bruising. It was only a joke. However, it was nice to just see you. Richard may be brilliant, but even Richard can sometimes get it wrong. So I felt very good about that. He is mortal after all. Yes.
I got myself a training data set, and in fact, I have that here. I can show you if I go back to my documents, and I go to training data, Lego brick. So here you can see I've got a single Lego brick. And I've got one of the Lego brick, the single Lego brick upside down. Other bricks are available. I should probably say.
Marco Cantu is a very big fan of Lego. I don't know if you know that, but he goes to Lego conventions and things like that. So he will be very, very impressed. You have a demo with Lego in it.
Oh, I wanted a much better demo with Lego. I've got all kinds of.
He is absolutely obsessed with Lego.
We've got a lot of Lego in this household, but yeah. So and that's why I thought it's actually a really good thing that everyone recognizes. I thought it would be a really easy to demo thing, but then the problem is once you've got the training data set, it does take time for the model to train. And I clicked start training only 20 minutes before doing this, and on top of that I also need to update the demo to accept a selection of which model you want to run. So maybe at some point in the future you'll have another excuse to demo that.
I mean, I'm only pulling your leg, but the thing about live demos is it's a live demo, and you always show your code and you show what you're doing live. I don't think we've ever done one where we pre-recorded it with you. Actually, I think it's always been live, and it's pretty slick. Your stuff is amazing. It really is. I mean, that SDK is quite incredible. So
yeah.
Okay,
so I should point out for people who also want to know more about things, there is on the latest version of it used to be that you just go in and you hit F1 on one of our classes, and that was registered, so you could just hit F1 there. and it would, find within the help index. That's an eye recognition label category, and it'll give you the info of the properties. We only have a name on this thing, we do now actually put this on here. So the core library, the components for FMX, and the VCL components.
Very slick.
It does take a moment for this to load, because, to be honest, the reference for it is getting huge. So it's a pretty big help file. There is a symbol reference here with all of the different supported services at the minute. So, and like S3 and IAM are massive. So the amounts of symbols in the index is pretty big. At some point in the future, I may actually have to split it out into different help files just to make it a little bit more performant. But
we did have a question that I pinned from Sandra Haddad, which probably leads us nicely into you talking a little bit more about some of the other things this can do.
Okay.
He or she, I'm guessing Sandro is a man, actually, given this picture, but I apologize if you're not. You are what you are. Sandro, you're a Sandro, and that's all that matters. It says, does it support detection from an IP camera in a real-time video stream? So can you detect labels and stuff like that in a video stream? It doesn't matter whether it's real time, as video stream is a video stream, really.
Right. Okay. So that is so if we go to the machine learning section and go to recognition, we'll see here in the documentation, I like to try and give like a basic example of invoking one of the features up front, so you can just see what classes, what uses clauses, what classes, things that you need to be aware of. And on recognition here, we talk about various things like detecting objects and concepts, which is what we've just been playing with. Detecting and analyzing faces, you can do that. You can do this in both images and videos. There's searching for faces in collections is another thing you can do if you've got collections of images and videos and things you want to have a search through. Detecting PPE equipment's really good. Recognizing celebrities, moderating content, detecting text, and detecting video segments. The one caveat here, so we have all of these features built in. The one caveat is, unfortunately, at the minute, we don't support recognition streaming. So that is a feature of Amazon Recognition. It is something I am working towards. But the nature of how it works, I wanted to try and get something, nice and slick and easy to use, but because you have to do lots of asynchronous things, because you've got streams here and there, and you get spat back data as it recognizes things. It's
the concept there is a much more two-way flow of information.
Yeah,
you're sending out, or
you're streaming
analyze, and it's coming back straight away, going, yes, here it is, and it's on, this frame at this point in the video, and okay. So, I mean, Sandro, just to answer your question, really to summarize it, Amazon Recognition can do that.
Yeah,
and the answer is the intention is to be able to do that, but it's actually a little bit complicated, even for a superstar like Richard. And the intention is there, but as you pointed out in that help there, it doesn't just recognize objects and things like that. The weirdest thing that I still think is the bizarrest capability is recognizing celebrities. So you can put, if you take a photograph, let's say you're at a football match, a soccer match, and Americans would call it, but a football match in England. Or, for example, you're at the Super Bowl, which is coming up, Kansas City Chiefs
are playing there. Now, those of you who are unfortunately burdened by a Taylor Swift fan living in the house, as I am, she's fanatical, will know that Taylor Swift is a very big fan of the Kansas City Chiefs because of her boyfriend is one of the guys on there. I think he's a tight end or something, which is an amazing name for a job, isn't it? What do you do? I'm a tight end. Okay. And but it would mean that in theory you could take an image of the crowd or a photograph of the crowd and then tell it to detect the celebrities, and it would show you who all the celebrities are. So if you took a photo of that box, you zoomed in, because my camera can do 150x digital zoom. I can be at one end of the stadium and zoom in on the VIP box, and it'll tell you who all the celebrities are in there. Which, as you pointed out previously, as I think we mentioned on a previous webinar, was actually used for the royal wedding. I think they had it trained with some guests and things like that, and then they could point the camera.
I don't think they needed to custom train it for guests for a royal wedding. I think it's like packed.
Oh, they just used the ready-made list. Okay. Well, I think if you had a list of faces, you could probably do it. But I mean, the 5th Duke of Monmouthshire, I'm sure you would probably have to either know who he was or
while they say celebrities, I should point out that Amazon define that basically as they maintain a database of tens of thousands of famous and notable people.
Well, of course, I'm going to be in there now, So,
so
Delphi famous.
Yeah, we'll probably yeah.
You're in there. You're on the champagne list, but you're not on the champagne and caviar list. Yes.
Yeah. So the point is, it can be really useful. Even in a business setting, actually, being able to pinpoint notable people. I mean, if you're running an event, you probably want to know if Richard Branson shows up.
Yeah, and also, if you are doing, some other uses for it are, as we said before, if you require people to wear PPE, personal protective equipment, and you, for example, I have behind me, just over there, as I point towards it, that's a hand scanner. So you can have your hand scanner. The person is at a building site, for example, or food handling, where Danish Bacon are a customer, actually, funnily enough. But they use the hand scanner to unlock the door to go into what they call the high-risk area. Now, the high-risk area is where you can't have hair. Not that anybody like me would drop hair, but, if your hair was falling out or you had a beard or something like that, which is obviously considered unhygienic, because it is, if you triggered the hand scanner, you would then be able to take an image of the person, use this app, this SDK, to detect whether the person has the correct PPE on, and then either open the relay to allow the door to open, or show a message saying, sorry, no PPE detected, please put on PPE or report to the manager, or whatever it is, and these are use cases where it's actually same with detecting people. If you are going to do something like automatically lock some doors,
security environments, being able to say, is this person supposed to be allowed through here? Is this person allowed in this area?
Automatic fire alarms. If the fire alarm goes off, some people do what they call piggybacking when they go into an office. So they've got one of these little cards that they use to get into the building, but sometimes they open the door and their mate comes in behind them, which is okay, if that person's allowed, so there's probably no big deal about it. But now the computer system has got no way of knowing how many people are actually really in the building. If they clock on and off for the job, then usually, unless they forgot to clock in and out, they know. But if they're just using it for access control, quite often people let their mates in or a guest. Now, if you can detect people in the images, when the fire alarm goes off, you know that there is a person in that location because you've detected them. And if it's a 90% confidence there's a person in there, it's worth the fire brigade or the fire service, in American, going into the building and looking for someone to rescue. Now, they're going to do it anyway, because I'm sure they have their own rules and regulations about how they clear buildings. But there's more of a sense of urgency if it's gone off. The same would be true of burglar alarms and things like that. If a passive entry alarm on a window goes off and you've got a detection saying there's a person detected on the image, you know there's a very good chance someone's in the building. Don't go in until the cops turn up. You know, that kind of thing. So I mean, the more that I look at your SDK that you've put together, the more I can think of more and more use cases. And by the way, people, you know, feel free to email me if you've want some suggestions, because I've got loads. I've got nothing better to do than think up stuff. But likewise, if you've got some suggestions and we think that they're applicable, I'm quite happy to pass them on to Richard if you think there's, you know, is there some way that yeah, the SDK could help with these, because I'm only half joking when I say there's nothing you can't do with Delphi. You can do almost everything. There are very, very few use cases where Delphi isn't the right answer, and the language is so easy to use as well. But it's SDKs like your stuff, Richard, that it just makes it even easier. You know, you do all the tricky stuff, you know.
On that note, I would also say, because I think I have heard sort of like comments before about, oh, well, you know, you're really just asking a cloud service to do it, you know, rather than writing it in Delphi. But it's like some of these things are so complicated to do that while you can do them, writing all of the code yourself in Delphi, there are times that actually, if you just need that feature, if your business is face detection, sure, go and write all of the algorithms, do that in Delphi or whatever language you want. But if your business is not all, you know, working out whether faces match or whatever, if your business is, I just need to know if this person is, you know, is on the good list or the bad list. Well, if there's a service there that you can integrate in like 5 minutes, that does that, you know, robustly, then you should probably use that. Yeah. So, and
you know,
where
my twist on that is to say, well, look, you know, the whole point about Delphi is that it's component-based software development, and you're using the runtime library, you know, the VCL or the FireMonkey library, and all that work's done for you, and it's all been tested by lots of other people using it. And believe me, they do let us know if there's a problem.
Yeah.
You go on any of the forums for things like beta test, it's a depressing day if you work at Embarcadero and you open up your library. But we do take, you know, I mean, we do try and fix as many problems as possible. But software development is hard, and even an organization like us get it wrong frequently. But it's a lot easier to use a ready-made bunch of code that somebody else has worked very hard and dedicated their expertise on it. You are an expert at AWS. I think that's fair to say. And by the way, he's available for bar mitzvahs and also consultancy, I'm sure. And that's half joking. You are actually, you do consultancy as well, don't you?
Yeah, if people need help integrating Amazon into a Delphi project, I'm happy to help out. If you know, contact me.
Not for free.
Not for free. Yeah. Obviously,
well, you know, I mean,
the library, you know. But
yeah, there's only so many things you can do for free anyway as well. You've got to earn a living.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, if they've got any questions, then feel free to email me, and if not, approach Richard about stuff. But you know, you're an expert in AWS, and that's the point I was making, was why would you go off and try and Google all the right ways of doing it, look through a load of you know, posts and things like that on the off chance that the answer might be on Stack Overflow and it's correct and works, when instead you can already use a ready-made library that's done it all for you, and not only that, it's commercially supported. There's nothing wrong with open source, and they do get the source code of your library with the pro version. That's right, isn't it? The pro
version comes with source.
So you know, the future proofing it. If Richard Hatherall does suddenly decide that he's going to go and swim off the coast of Jersey
and get eaten by sharks or whatever lives in the sea outside Jersey, you've got the source code available. Don't do that though, Richard. Otherwise, we're in trouble.
I think Jersey waters are pretty safe.
Yeah. More likely to get a bit of sunburn and possibly some bowel disease from the channel.
Cleanest waters in the British territories, I think.
Yeah, but there's a relative. It's like saying this is the least muddy mud or something. But yeah, it's actually. I mean, I'm joking apart. As a Brit myself, the one thing I miss about living in Texas is the sea. I mean, I can get to the sea, but it takes me 8 hours to drive there. So, I go to Corpus Christi or something like that on the Gulf of America, as it's now called, apparently, instead of the Gulf of Mexico. But yeah, going down that area is great. But the British, there's nothing like the British seaside. It's a fantastic place. It is. Do you want to? Have you got any more demos you want to show us, or have we covered what you needed? And
I mean, it's really what the topic here is, recognition. So I think I think that was the main demo, is the detect labels. So I'm happy to answer any questions beyond that, or give any demos of anything if anyone else has asked those questions.
Let me just have a look. So we answered most of them. And Boyne is also talking about his library. And I will call this out because it's not directly in competition with Amazon's Appercept, SDK, but Boyne does do. Boyne was on last Tuesday, I think. Boyne Mitov for mitofsoftware.com, and he does do image processing components, which do it locally on the machine.
Yeah.
And it's important to make the point between the differentiation between things. Yeah. Doing it locally means you can detect eyes and lips and a face and things like that, but the Amazon stuff goes way beyond that. You cannot, for example, do the image recognition and tagging like the Amazon stuff does. Boyne, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure that's the case with your components. Yeah. Boyne's components do a lot of the image processing. So you can take an image, you can clean it up, you can remove noise from it, you can invert the image, and all sorts of other things. His components are really great. Yeah. Also, a big Arduino guy. He's got Visuino, which is an IDE specifically for the Visuino. I haven't got my device on my desk at the moment, but
just to add an endorsement to that, I have thought about how I'm going to demonstrate some of the features of Amazon Web Services, and actually, if I was going to demo some of the video features, I would probably be also using the Mitov components to do.
Right, yeah.
Do that, so.
And he did say you can do tagging in Vision Lab. It's not quite the same though. But yeah, look, I mean, I'm not going to knock him. Boyne, I really like Boyne. He's a nice guy, and I think most MVPs know Boyne quite well anyway. He pops up from time to time. We have him on the webinars all the time. He's a great guy. Lives in California, despite the name. So Boyne Mitov, the Californian. So there you go. Okay, well, great. Look, a good demo. I mean, we only brushed the surface. If you go to Appercept, the website there, I'm going to pull it up at the bottom in case they get it wrong. The guy today that was sitting to my...
You've swapped us around now, so...
Yeah, it does that. It's the desktop software. It swaps us around. But anyway, he's over there. There you go. Is Richard Hatherall. He's an MVP. He's also a tech partner, which means sometimes he gets 2 emails from me about something, and sometimes he gets none because for some reason he gets filtered out. I don't understand how that happens, but the company is appercept.com. Very good thing. And as I said before, and I put the overlay up once more as well, you can also, if you want to try the Embarcadero version, you can go into the Get It Package Manager. And this time we have to go this way to be seen around the corner, and just type in AWS into Get It Package Manager, and you can install it from there as well. The Embarcadero version does a lot of what you've seen today.
but also you get with the Pro version you get support, I believe, is that right? And what do you get with the Pro version actually that they don't get with?
Well, so at the minute, the main two things are you get source code and you get priority support with me. So the Embarcadero edition support is provided by Embarcadero. If there's something that Embarcadero can't handle, then I get the email from you guys anyway. But it might take you a little bit longer to get an answer that way.
Swipe to Richard.
Yeah.
This sounds complicated. It's got long words in it.
Whereas you can email me directly if you've bought the one of my editions. But there are going to be I have features planned that actually are going to be Pro only. And as I say, there are things that are released all the time. We'll probably have another release in a couple of weeks' time with new things, and at some point in the not too distant future, there are some exclusive Pro only features. I'm trying to make it so you get as much of the actual API access with the Embarcadero edition, but some of the sort of enhanced IDE integrations and things will only come with the Pro.
And also, I mean, I say this most times I have tech, component vendors on and tech partners. Excuse me. And also, it's about supporting a business and supporting because none of the tech partners are huge, giant corporations like Microsoft or something like that. And every penny that goes into them goes back into the product and back into making sure that Richard doesn't drown on the coast of Jersey or anything like that, in a boat made of paper. So it's about support as much as anything else. But if you're using it for a big product, a corporate product, then I would definitely say that's something you want a Pro version. Gary Sims for Victoria BC Homes says interesting framework. Thanks for the demo. I'm guessing if it's your kind of software you write, Gary, is what I think it is, then it's probably going to have a lot of application to what you want to do. And we only showed recognition today. There are other SDKs, to do with S3, which is very interesting stuff, and all sorts of different packages. Recognition is one of the ones that kind of encompasses some kind of oh wow moments. So it's a good demo to go look, and it's spotted my dog as a cat or something random like that. But drawing bounding boxes and that's very clever stuff. But there are some other less exciting SDKs, but even more profoundly useful. And the I am stuff, which is you've only just released today.
Yeah.
No, yesterday. Which will be coming out on Get It soon.
Well, that's another benefit of the
building blocks of a lot of things.
That's another benefit of the Apercept editions is they were actually a few days earlier.
You're almost getting the latest version. Yes, exactly. I have to say you have a very good relationship with the Get It team actually, because I see you guys always sending emails. I get. For those that don't know what I do in the company, I get a lot of emails involved in a lot of different weird things because of what I do. And I see some emails about all sorts of things. Okay, and Ron says thanks as well. So as usual, great stuff. Well, Richard, I'm going to hide out. Thanks a lot. I hope things carry on as they do. You may be back for another one in the future. I'm not sure whether we've got any directly planned, but it's always good to have you on. We get on quite well anyway, and two Brits, we spend Richard and I quite often have little Skype chats and put the world to rights and moan about all the things that are horrible and stuff like that. That's what you got to have someone that you can. Sometimes it only works if you talk to another developer and that developer is a Brit or something like that who gets it. Sometimes you just got, I just had this happen. It was really horrible.
Exactly.
Oh, Peter Edwards. Peter is actually once upon a time was a customer of mine, funnily enough, years ago.
and give the UK dev group a plug.
Yes, I am a member of the UK Dev Group as well. So every month we meet online on Zoom. Every so often we do a meeting in person as well. So usually at a pub in London somewhere, and talk a lot of Delphi, a lot of tech. So
there are quite a few. I found out the more I've done these webinars, there are quite a few people in the Dallas area, and there's some talk of us. I mean, some of them have moved out to ridiculously kind of, cowboy town places, but there is some talk of us actually probably meeting up at some point and maybe having something together. So we shall see. Rick says
if you want to be involved in a group, that provides Delphi specific, we do other things as well, but our main focus is Delphi. Then UK Dev Group is a great place. So
and actually, if they go to the Embarcadero.com website, go to I think it's blogs and then community. I think it's listed there, but I haven't got graphics set up for them today, but I'll post them so that we've had webinars about it before. Maxi Donkey, who does a very interesting AI library actually as well. Thanks, Richard. And you're welcome. And Coda says thanks, Richard. No thanks
you're
to
welcome.
him.
Thank you very much for listening.
I never do. I always tell people I never do anything. I just talk nonsense. That's my job. So, okay. Well, look. Thanks a lot. I'm going to call it a day. I will see you again soon. So goodbye. Well, that was a pre-recorded session that Richard and I did before. And I pinned some of the comments because someone said it was this person who I have no idea what that handle is. OXSP. Sorry. Yes. Okay. Look. So when I when I did the 30 for 30 webinars planning, what I did was said, let's do 30 webinars to celebrate 30 years of Delphi since the first release of Delphi. And it seemed like a good idea at the time. and then 26 webinars in, it started to really wear me out a little bit. And some of the topics, I think I was a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Optimistic on what I could do, and I tried to get this particular version working myself for today, a completely different session that would show you this AI webcam that I was going to be using. And to be honest, I couldn't get it done for lots of reasons. Camtasia crashed, and then the app, I couldn't get the app working because I just wasn't clever enough, and also I ended up with maxing out some accounts and things like that, because you have a tariff on how many AI sessions you could do, and it was just a pain. So it's my fault, and that's why today it was a replay. A few people mentioned it and said make the logo in the top right corner that says replay a bit bigger. Gotcha. I literally knocked it up with 10 seconds to spare this morning when I realized I was going to do a replay. Malcolm, who is the crazy person, is Malcolm got up at 3:30 a.m. That would only happen to me if there was an earthquake or something, and everyone was saying, "Whoa, that's really early." He says, "I need a notification when the delivery man arrives at the gate." Actually, I have Ring cameras around the building because obviously, security, lots of computers and things like that. And the app I was trying to emulate was how Ring does it. And it was very, very good what they do. They have continuous streaming, and it's an Amazon company. They bought it, and it does literally do that. If you have a Ring doorbell, for example, when the person turns up, it will give you an alert and it comes to your phone. We're going to look at that
on Friday, alerts to your mobile phone. But yes, that was the intention of what I was going to do. I had a few kudos from people. Posh Sims, love it. Says, love this chat. Good, I'm glad. And lots of people. Richard said he would answer more questions if he had time, but he's currently juggling children, not literally. And his son's quite large now as well, so I think you need some real bicep power to juggle his son. I think he's got a daughter as well. And I think she's very small. I've only ever seen his son in a picture from the back, so I know his son's name, but I'm not going to call his son's name out on camera because as you do. Rick says, awesome. Less coding and generative AI is the future of software development. Yes, I think that's probably true. We're going to do a series on AI, and I did mention before. Ooh, excuse me. Oh dear, I apologise. Despite copious amounts of coffee, I'm still extremely tired. Yes, I did mention before that there is an AI training thing going on with GDK, and we being Idera and Embarcadero, are going to do some sessions on AI in your own apps. That today was partly that because it involves some AI, but we're going to do a lot more of it discussing AI and what AI you can get inside your the IDE. I have shown a little bit of that in the past as well. And GDK are doing some training. They're doing a tour. So if you want to scan that, I believe that's in Brazil, but I think they're also doing a tour in Europe. I believe. Oh, actually, no. This one is their tour in Brazil, yeah. But they've also got one in Europe as well. Yeah, there you go. This is their AI training in the United States. So I apologize. I keep saying Brazil, but actually it's the United States. I messed that one up. Sorry about that, GDK. I do mention yourself quite a lot. So, yeah. 9 out of 10 ain't bad, so to speak. But that's that. Now, if you want to know more about these subjects, or if you feel what's the word I'm looking for? If you feel motivated to try the product out yourself, well, you can get 12.3 of Rad Studio. It's out now. We do a free version if you qualify it. It's the CE version. It's slightly older. It's 12.2, I believe, of Rad Studio. I believe that's correct, but look it up. It might be 12.1. My brain's a bit mushy at the moment. I've been working too long and too hard. But if not, if you feel like it, you can get a free trial of our products. And the Apacep stuff is available there to have a go. You just go into the Get It package manager, as we showed in the video, and play with it. It's very easy. Richard's examples, particularly with the recognition API, are very easy to follow. I did the Not a Hot Dog video. If you go again to our blog site and have a look there, you'll see the Not a Hot Dog app, which literally was the one that he was showing where we're recognizing whether something was a hot dog or not. Now, you might go, that's a stupid example. Well, first of all, yes, it was, because it was based on the TV series Silicon Valley, where they had an app called Not a Hot Dog. It's called Seafood, actually. But the whole point about if you want to recognize if something is a hot dog or a pizza, you need to know what it is you're looking at. And so we use the Amazon's recognition API via Richard's Apacep SDK. And we were able to say, what is this? And it would come back, and I was looking for specific labels because the AI labels whatever you're taking photos of. So here it would have a field day on my background. It would be like, mask and Japanese samurai katana, along here. Propeller head hat, from Google, cowboy hat, Western hat if you're American, and Delphi helmet, ukulele, spear, yes, spear, also a Roman gladiator sword, and DJ decks. I have everything. So it would go crazy. We would have loads of labels, but The point is, it would be able to tell that there's not a hot dog in this image, because in order to say that something is not something, you need to know what that something is, and that was the whole point of that not a hot dog app, was trying to show that in order to do this recognition, you need to recognize what it is in order to exclude it. So it's pretty good. Fabio Muller says keeping it up to date is very, very, very important. Yes, I agree. The cloud vendors are constantly changing and improving APIs, IAM, etc. In 1 year, a lot can change. As Patrick, MVP Extreme, says, that's the reason why the AppAccept library is great. Richard is in charge of maintaining it. We only have to use it. Yes, I absolutely agree with that. Richard is a superstar when it comes to these things. And as he said, I'm always working on this library. It's in my dreams, nightmares, I think it would be for me. But it's a very well maintained library. And if my demo had been able to work today, entirely my fault, then I would have been using it as well, and you would have seen that it can do other things as well. But Richard's demo is very effective. It shows exactly how it works. Short movies, blah, blah, blah. And also we talked as well very briefly in that pre-recorded thing, but I'm going to mention it again, which is Boyan Mitov, who is always in the chat. Mitov Software, MITOV, Mitov Software. He has components that do recognition, image recognition, and he said in the chat tagging as well. So definitely worth having a look, because Boyan has been on a couple of webinars, and we also did a special one on Saturday. Look in the IDE on the welcome page on the right of the IDE. There's a tab for the welcome page that says Learn, and Boyan's is a couple of numbers down, but you can see it says about Arduino and Visuino like that, and you'll see what Boyan stuff does. He's a very talented guy as well. We have so many great developers around the world that use Delphi, and someone did ask as well, do things work with C++ Builder? That's complicated. The AWS libraries are Delphi specific. In theory, if you have RAD Studio, then you can RAD Studio 12.3, you can consume Delphi resources in your C++ programs, but only if you have RAD Studio. It won't work if you have C++ Builder, because it needs a Delphi compiler, and C++ Builder is C++ only. There is an IDE called Delphi, which is confusing me, which is Delphi only, but RAD Studio is both. And RAD Studio can do Delphi and C++, and therefore it can consume, the 12.3 can consume Delphi apps, and that is a big change. That's it, I think. There was a few others as well. This was a question that I kind of understood what he said. And it's one for Richard. Richard, if you're watching the replay on this, here's your question. But if not, I'll talk to you about it separately. But and Lan is my new name. It's my secret name. Try to coordinate with Richard for another AI video on real-time pose estimation from a live camera, which can be leveraged with Cartoon GAN. Oh, I get it. Yeah, okay. So in other words, what this person's trying to do is get it so that the person's face can move around and the pose can move around, and then they can do generative AI images on that pose. So pose estimation would say, oh, you're holding your hands up and your arms up and your head's turned like this, and as it moves around, it tracks your pose, and then you would use the cartoon generative AI to make that person into a real life cartoon, which would be an impressive demo. So that's one I might talk to Richard about, but I think we're not quite there yet with the SDK, but maybe we are. Zizu says short movies from real world inputs. Well, yeah, it's possible to do that. The recognition API does, SDK does some really quite interesting things. Like it can detect emotion, I believe. It can also filter out nudity. So you could use it, for example, if you were doing like a communications app and you wanted to make it so that people couldn't appear nude, or a meeting app, you know, like Zoom or something, and you wanted to prevent people from appearing nude, then in theory, with that SDK, you can get a warning and say this person's got no clothes on, or there's nudity, because the nudity tag, it will, and unless you want to do the opposite, of course, and say only go on, maybe we run a nudist colony or something, and say they're not allowed to wear clothes. I don't know. Well, I'm not going to judge you, but in theory, with the SDK, you could say this person nudity detected and then block their camera, or the opposite, nudity detected, allow their camera. It depends what you're looking for. But I'm not going to judge you. I'm a developer, and we're about writing things to happen. So there you go. And Nigel asked a question as well, which I wanted to talk about as well, because that might not be clear. Now, those of you that are regular viewers will know that despite my British accent, and I can say British properly, that saying you know I'm British, I'm actually an American. In fact, that's my citizenship certificate there that proves I'm American. I'm a British American. I'm proud to be British and American, and I'm proud to be American. For good or bad, I think all countries have got some things you don't agree with. We don't get into religion or politics, but some countries have rules about, you can't host your stuff in a US data center, for example, or you can't host your data outside of the EU, or you can't host your data outside the US. And so the question Nigel asked was, well, what happens because Amazon is an American company? Well, actually, and you'll find this is quite hard enforced by Amazon, that if you sign up for their services from the UK, they will enforce you to use a data center based in Europe. And I think it's Europe West. I think they have different names of the data centers. But you will get a appropriately hosted data center because Amazon don't want to cause themselves problems. And actually, one of my customers, prior to me working for Embarcadero, had an opposite problem. They wanted their data to be hosted in the United States, but they were a British company. And so they had to go through some real hoops to force the data center and all of the account stuff to be US hosted, because Microsoft very helpfully kept saying, you're a British company, therefore you want a British data center. And they're like, no, we're trying to provide US services. And the Microsoft like, no, we think you're British. So it's not a problem. Both Azure and Amazon both have data centers that are spread around the world. I can't speak for places outside the European Union. China or something like that. I don't quite know how that works. I don't have experience of it. But in terms of privacy and data collection, all the rest of it, yes, they're fully aware of that. Don't worry, have a plan, and you'll get dealt with appropriately. Okie dokie. Well, I'm going to call it a day here. Thanks for sticking it out whilst we went through the little replay. As I said, I do apologize about having to do a replay because I don't like doing them, but it's entirely my fault. Sometimes when I prepare these webinars, it doesn't always work out with the demo, and I would rather not show you a half-cocked demo. If I'm going to show you something, it's got to work. And a lot of this code I write specifically for the demos. And sometimes it doesn't work. And the one I did, I tried to get this particular thing to work. And the demo I had worked, but it was not unhackable. And it was kind of make, do, amend. And I'm like, I'm not showing that. We're done. So it was better to just show the replay as it was. Okie dokie. I'm back on Friday. At the same time. Hopefully you caught up with the hour. Sylvian said hello, even if I'm late. Hello. And also, Boyan quite rightly pointed out, I also have general purpose AI components intelligence lab. If you go into the IDE, you can look up Boyan's components because he's got some demos and trials in there as well. But just go to his website. I really like Boyan, and just watch his replay. As I said, it's we did a stream on Saturday with all these things. He's a great guy. Maxi Donkey says, thanks, Ian. Thank you. And by the way, thanks for your email. I got your email today. I think I replied to it. I literally had over 150 emails this morning from people asking me various questions, you know, and I'm fine with that. You know, I really mean it when I say to people, you know, here's my email address. Email me. I will reply. I'm really busy, especially at the moment because I'm moving and all the rest of it. But I believe it's important for us to be in touch, you know, and it's easier for me if it's via email. I get a lot of, I'm on virtually every single platform that's out there. Richard says, actually, you can host in the USA or anywhere without Amazon. You get the choice. Your account may be held by another company like Amazon, AWS. Yes, exactly. In fact, the use case that I had was very specific, but it was Microsoft that was the problem with the non-US data center, not Amazon. Whenever I've used Amazon, you could it was actually, you could have picked a data center anywhere, and they will tell you where they suggest, I think, the most nearest data center is to your use case, but I think the default is wherever your Amazon account is registered. So if you've got a Dallas address, then it's going to suggest, you know, like a southern United States data center. I think there's even one in Dallas. But if not, then it's UK and also. Anyway, to go back to what I was saying, feel free to email me, and I will reply it when I can. Sylvian says, "Oh, watch the replay," and Malcolm says, "Thanks, Ian. See you Saturday at 3 a.m." Oh my God, dearly. Oh, it's a Friday, of course, because you're in Australia. You time travel, and so my Friday is your Saturday. What's the future like, Malcolm? Is Wednesday a good day for me? I need to know. It's Wednesday at like 4 a.m. for Malcolm, so there you go. It's very weird. And Martin says, thanks to all. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it. Anyway, I will speak to you on Friday. Hopefully, I can get Friday's demo working, and we'll go from there. And that will involve some Amazon stuff as well, because I'm going to do a few little bits and bobs as well. But until then, see you soon. Thanks a lot.